Hello and welcome to the 29th Live Cybersecurity Awareness Forum on the topic of finding and engaging security champions. So we have a really interesting session today, and we're going to start by introducing people in a moment, but we're really going to try to spend this session leveraging people in our own organization. We're going to learn how we can do that. And so I hope you'll stay to the end. We have some good tools to share. I'm your host and moderator, Scott Wright, the Security Awareness Experience Guy. I'm CEO of ClickArmor, the first fully interactive security awareness platform, and ClickArmor sponsors these sessions. So I'll tell you a little bit more about ClickArmor shortly. But as usual, we have a great panel with people who are passionate about creating a positive security culture and helping people learn to work securely. So in a minute, I'm going to ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves. But just a couple of quick notes. For those of you joining us live, please enter your into the chat where you're joining us from geographically. We like to do a little bit of a round table around the world. And secondly, if you're new, just a little bit of information about these sessions. We do record them for later publishing on our YouTube channel. We condense some of that information into blog posts, and we also create a quarterly industry report we call the CISO report on security awareness, which you can download. All of these QR codes are safe, no phishing attacks here. But at this point, I'm going to ask the panel to do a quick intro of themselves, and then we will do a quick roundtable. So we'll start with Sid.
Hi, I'm Sid Choudhuri. I'm a head of IT at Greenpeace Canada, and I'm currently studying for my CISSP.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Sid. And then we have John.
Hi, everyone. My name's John Pritchard. I'm currently sort of running a data protection advancement team within the data and analytics organization at a large not-for-profit healthcare system / insurer. I've had a very odd path less traveled over the last 20 years, starting from being a frontline analyst in a security operations center, moving into one of the world's largest sort of telecommunications carriers, building out sort of network detection logic, feeding SOCs and things like that there. I would say sort of my passions are both for security analytics, data analytics process. And over the last 20 years, for me, the number one thing that I'm really seeing is the opportunity for us to focus on people. Taking a people-centric approach to doing security, where we can operate at high levels of trust, but also sort of bring in things like zero trust principles and and I know that's kind of weird, high trust, zero trust, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit, but really trying to leverage the workforce that's out there for improving your overall cybersecurity posture.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much, John. Looking forward to getting your insights. Eric?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. So I'm a senior cybersecurity professional consultant with the federal government for the last 16 years, 24 years of experience in the industry. I have a master's degree in cybersecurity and a master's certificate in digital forensics. And I've been a CISSP since 2007.
Excellent.
I also teach with Thrive DX at multiple colleges, doing a cybersecurity platform for the next generation. And I'm actively looking for new endeavors.
All right. Well, this is a great place to connect with people all through the security industry. People are, it doesn't matter what role you're in, you can be passionate about security awareness and connect with a lot of great people here. So we see that happen all the time. So thanks a lot, Eric, and look forward to hearing your insights too. So with that, I'm just going to do a really quick roundtable to see where people are coming from today. We have Germany, Nashville, Tennessee, Brooklyn, New York, DC Metro, Toronto, Montreal, Charlottesville, Awesome. So thanks, everybody. Bend, Oregon as well. Thanks. What I'm going to do here, usually what I do in these sessions is we have a series of poll questions that we'll ask the audience, and I might actually be able to get the panel to respond to them too. I didn't used to be able to do that, but I think I found a setting in the polls that lets the panelists vote. And when we do that, we'll launch the poll, and then we'll go into a question for the panel, and it'll take some period of time, and we'll get some great insights from the panelists on both the poll question and the others. So we'll rotate through questions until we run out of time, and have a great time. So with that, I'm just going to share my screen. And I start usually each session by giving a little bit of context, my perspective on what we're talking about today. So when we talk about security champions, from my understanding, it goes back a decade or more. And it was really started in the AppSec, or the application security space, where within software development teams, there was a recognized need to improve security, but nobody really knew what to do or how to lead it. So people would go to the OWASP.org, OWASP.org website, where you can get the top vulnerabilities that are typically found in applications, and people would start evangelizing on making sure that you don't have buffer overflows and cross-site scripting and things like that. But security champions, the term, has gone much broader to anyone in an organization who would like to help the organization be more secure, not that it's in their job formally. So that's where it all kind of started. But we're looking for people who are passionate and really want to help, and who will take on tasks for free, that may not be part of their official duties. And we're looking for people that have capabilities where there may be gaps within the official organizational structure, and places where we see risks and people can help out with their skills. We want to be able to communicate often with them in both directions, help them spread the word, but also get feedback from them and what they're seeing out in the field. And we want to try to reward them for their participation if possible. It doesn't have to be expensive. There are lots of ways to do that. So those are topics I think that will likely come up during this session. So with that, I'm going to launch our first poll question, and I just have to find our polls. There we are, and launch it. So first question is, does your organization have any sort of security champion or security ambassador program? It may be formal, it may be informal or ad hoc. Maybe you don't have one, or you don't know. So feel free to jump in, just answer that poll question. And while you guys are doing that, one thing I forgot to do, I don't know if I can go back while it's running, and I can't. Sorry, panel, I forgot to turn on panel participation. So I'm going to do that right now while we're in. Let me see. I can't do that. That's interesting. I thought there was a way. Anyway, never mind. We will move on to the panel question that I'm sure we can get some good discussion going around. So from your experience, what are some of the benefits of having a security champions program? The way we like to distribute the questions here for the panelists is whoever has the first comment can raise their hand, and if nobody raises their hand, I'll just call on somebody. So anybody want to take a shot at answering the question around what are the benefits of having a security champions program? Stephen.
Yes. So first of all, I want to note that Scott didn't introduce me, so that's okay. Didn't invite me to
I didn't introduce myself either, did I?
No, that's okay. Well, you told us you're the security guy.
Yeah.
We get it. So that's fine. I will take just a very quick opportunity to say I'm the Chief Operating Officer of ClickArmor, and have been working in this company for about 5 years, but I came in through a different security path. I ran a facial recognition program at one of the largest security vendors in Canada for a number of years, doing that for driver's license programs, etc. And I'm also on the weekends sometimes a trivia pub trivia master, however you want to put it. And so that means that I know when John Pritchard said he is from Bend, Oregon, I know that that is the home of the last Blockbuster store in the world. And that's my trivia for today. That's all I want to say. And now I'm going to pass it over to anybody that actually wants to answer the question about the benefits of having a security champions program.
You can see how much fun I have every day working with Stephen. So good job, Stephen. Okay, I'm going to call on John to answer the question first around what are some of the benefits of having a security champions program?
You know, I also feel like we might have to share a little bit of trivia each time we respond.
Sounds great.
So in that vein, I'm getting a sense that we've got sort of this Canadian vibe going on through the call here. I just want to say that my alma mater for graduate school was the University of British Columbia, and spent a long time living in Nelson, BC as well.
Cool.
The benefits of this, having this kind of a champion thing is it really drives a lot of the security value for an organization outside of having to come from within, say, a risk-focused, formalized organization. And so you can get innovation happening, being driven by the organization, where you have leaders or champions actually pulling security into your business rather than having it pushed upon them. A interesting example of this is looking at DevSecOps engineering practices. I am a huge fan of Rick Howard and his recent book on cybersecurity first principles, and the idea of we're just there to try to reduce the impact of material impact. So thinking from that standpoint, when we look at like DevSecOps engineering, when you have teams building things out, implementing version control is huge. Like just getting an organization to start doing version control and getting people going, yo, you always used to come and beat us up about who made what change, when, and was it authorized. The moment you start putting your configuration changes into a version control system and even linking that into like a ticket system, like it doesn't have to be integrated. It could just be in your commit comment, see Jira ticket 1, 2, 3, 4. You're providing that audit trail. So all of a sudden you're rapidly moving into compliance as code, configuration as code. And from my standpoint, it's like you're pulling the security inside the organization. You're addressing long-standing sort of process debts and things that have haunted compliance officers for years. And it's helping you get your job done much more easily. So that's sort of one of the places where I've just been so excited and proud to see workforce members sort of adopting sort of these modern engineering practices, and how it really, really helps sort of provide that resilience, push in on that automation that we've never really had before, or it's been like Excel spreadsheets and Word docs and other kind of things that are just, you can't automate it and it's prone to human error.
That's amazing. Really love that insight. Thanks, John. Sid, you want to add to that?
The benefits of having any kind of champion for anything you're deploying, as for me as an head of IT, just as John said, having this come from within and having teams be able to go to staff who are really enthused about anything is a huge boon to managers and to anybody who's trying to get adoption of something. So, I'll give some examples. Slack, we went and had Slack champions, Asana, and then with a security program, which we have just started. It's hard to believe. We have just started that in my organization. With having security awareness training for this month, these people are coming and telling me they want to be, champions for security awareness. And I was surprised at that, but it's very, it's both eye-opening and pleasant to see that happen organically.
That's awesome. And Eric.
Yeah, so one of the benefits that I see in a cybersecurity champions program is that it stretches the arm of the security team, right? It extends it, because having a security champion in your HR division or your marketing division or finance keeps that, well, stretches the arm of the security team into those different organizations and helps drive the security awareness. And feeding into John's adds to the human-centric piece, because it starts teaching from within, right? Mm-hmm. That's the big benefits of that type of program.
That's great. And just checking the chat, Christoph says champions are the bridges. As long as the security team is not in a specific team, there's a need for champions having the idea of specific team and security. Bridges are connecting and allowing exchange. So yeah, I mean, all of these communications and collaborations can become organic, right? Because there will be a need that was never seen before. If somebody has an insight within a specific team saying, you know what, we should be doing this better, or we should be doing this more securely. How can we do that? And as Sid said, they'll start reaching out. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of pivot off this idea of bridges, as well as the point that Eric kind of raised about extending that arm. A few years ago, I had an opportunity to see an amazing collaboration that happened between our marketing department and our brand awareness departments and other kinds of groups coming together. And this would have been back in the 2015, 2016 timeframe, where DMARC, which is sort of an email security standard that, if you work in the federal government, you must do it. But, back in 2015, 2016, people are like, DMARC, what's that? It's basically a way to sort of help provide verification that emails that are sent with your branding are real.
Yeah.
And a lot of organizations, especially when you start working with their brand departments and their marketing departments, you start to realize that your organization probably has hundreds of domains that are out there. And sort of getting security champions, talking with the marketing department, stuff like that, you start to scratch your head when you want to do something like DMARC, like, hey, it would be a lot easier if we could centralize our DNS registration. Or maybe we're just using a couple places to buy domains and have that centralized as a process within the organization. And you start getting this delivery of value to the organization really rapidly. And one of the things that I loved was, when we had this data coming in, there was a point in time where our marketing department, spending really big money, for, that email penetration. And part of that big money is having the emails coming from our organization being digitally signed, as well as coming from, servers where there's an actual authoritative record that these are the servers that the emails come from. Well, we partnered with this big delivery service, and we found that 25% of our email messages weren't getting signed and those kind of things. And it was really cool to be able to sort of, again, go back, help the marketing team and go, yo, things are not working the way they were designed to work. Give them that sort of situational awareness and allow them to be able to go back. It really adds tremendous credibility to your security ops teams when they can kind of deliver that kind of value. You'll also find things that once you've got your domains sort of centralized, or rather when you have an incident where you've got to rapidly take down some site that, best of intent, somebody set up, but maybe they didn't secure their web app as well as they coulda, shoulda. you can rapidly take it down if you've got control of the DNS versus having this sort of hair on fire.
Yeah, for sure. The marketing department has, as almost any department you can identify, will have some unique security attributes that, are really important for you to work together on. So there's a couple of mentions in the chat that we'd like to get to. Stephen, you had a hand raised.
Yeah, I know you want to get on to the next question because we have lots of other stuff to finish up. I was going to make a comment, and then I just saw one from Julie Chapman that basically said what I was going to say about security champions evangelize and legitimize security. They make security accessible and real for non-security colleagues. They embody security as everyone's job for the organizations. For people that weren't on our last CSAF forum, we talked about the importance of kind of executive involvement. I don't know, the last one or the one before that, and the importance of kind of having executive advocacy to kind of say this is important. And if you're working on any organizational culture, often you run into the issue of people will only adopt the culture if they see the bosses doing it and their peers doing it. We work with some clients that use our cybersecurity awareness platform. And this is a company that has, it's a large technology conglomerate. It's acquired maybe 15 companies over the last 4 years, and they run into this whole issue of kind of assimilation to the Borg. It's like, I didn't have to take cybersecurity training when we were only 14 people working in this small town, and now we've been brought in, and now we have to do this crap. And that's what you see it all the time. And so you really have to kind of set a culture that says this is normal behavior, and it's what you have to do to be part of this organization. So that was my comment.
Yeah, excellent. And there's one comment from Andrew as well about the challenges of bringing people into that. And it can be that sometimes the people who maybe are self-proclaimed champions could be actually causing a little bit of friction or disruption, and it maybe isn't as productive as it should be. So I think there needs to be some moderation. If you have your finger on the pulse of the culture, you want to make sure that the people who are reportedly helping are actually helping rather than just disrupting a little bit. So really good comments. Wow, there's other comments too, just basically allowing new ideas to flow. That's awesome, Monica. So I also want to just move on to our next poll. So I'm going to wrap up all the polls at the end, but if you can bear with me here, the next poll question I'm just going to launch is, what are the best ways to identify security champions or ambassadors? And the options are sending out recruiting messages within corporate communications, looking for people who finish training immediately when asked, maybe they're good candidates, looking for people who scored highly on tests or assessments, asking team members for suggestions of who they would likely want to have participate or who they think might want to participate, and looking for people with security backgrounds on a team. Maybe they come from an organization that was very security oriented, and they have a natural instinct around it that you might be able to tap, and they might not have thought of becoming a champion. So those are all the different ways I thought of. Maybe there's other ways. If you think of them, you can put them in the chat as well. So we'll let this poll question simmer a little bit. And while that's happening, I just want to mention ClickArmor. Stephen mentioned it a moment ago about some of the customers that we have that are, sometimes challenging if you're bringing them in from another organization. There's been an acquisition or things like that. But really, as soon as people start to see the difference in how a training platform appears compared to what we call death by PowerPoint, right? We started calling it gamification. It's really highly interactive. It's got a lot of psychological drivers that make it more effective, but also less difficult and less time consuming for managers to deploy. So you can call it gamification, but we don't recommend necessarily calling it that with executives, because sometimes they are a little bit touchy about the word gamification. They feel it's not real or not serious. So however you'd like to talk to your executives about it, come and talk to us, and we can help because it really does provide a very different, more visually dynamic and engaging way to train people. And we have a lot of flexibility for adding new courses and tailoring courses that we have off the shelf. So if you're interested, please use the QR code here or contact us, and you get a demo and a free trial of ClickArmor. Look forward to talking to you about that. So let's move on. The next panel question, while the poll is running, is what are some of the key qualities to look for in a security champion? Who would you be looking for? What are the characteristics? I'm going to start this time with Eric.
Yeah, so some of the key qualities you want to look for is somebody who's actually enthusiastic about security. Shouldn't really matter what department they're in. As long as they can get excited and be an influencer in their organization around security, right?
Yep.
Because those type of people tend to drive and attract other people. Yeah, thanks, Julie. That's exactly right, right? Influential, visible, and curious, right? I really appreciate that comment because it ties into exactly what I was looking for, right? So, yeah.
Awesome. Christoph agrees. John?
I'm gonna, yeah, hands down, everything Julie just said, as well as what Eric just said, for sure. You want individuals that, and they're leaders in the organization. And I'm not talking leading from a title perspective. They are the influencers. They have the ability to sort of engage people's minds, their hearts, their spirit, and get them to want to embrace change. So what I'm really looking for oftentimes is, yes, you have to have that passion. You must have that enthusiasm. But there's also that curiosity, that growth mindset, that sort of continual hunger to learn new things, but also people that understand change and the change cycle, and that for some, organizations on the whole hate change. And so how do you bring change into an organization and sort of start that, making changes that are strategic, that's going to help people move from, this fear-based, why are you doing this to me, that resentment. And that's what we see a lot in security, to where they've actually bought into like, oh, we don't want something like this to happen to our help desk, where they get socially engineered. And next thing you know, they've got control of our multi-factor authentication thing. That would be really, really bad. So being able to prevent those kind of social engineering attacks by rewarding people for stepping up and going, this doesn't pass my sniff test. And rather than getting punished because they're slowing down in delivery of what their job is, they're actually being recognized and applauded for trying to protect the organization on the whole.
Awesome. Sid, did you have anything to add?
I'd like to add that regarding phishing and regarding security threats, people in my organization, just by the nature of what we do, are very aware of privacy and are paranoid. And I always tell everybody, I'd rather have you, report something and it be nothing than have something, that is actual phishing go, through the filter. So in that way, a huge number of people practice that, and just as John says, that security culture has grown. So finding security champions, for me at least, it's specific projects. It's like in deploying security awareness training, or rolling out, as John said again, change management. If there's something that it's regarding change, I try to get line managers to be security champions, and this actually comes from top down. And I've always said that if you want to do anything in the org, it has to be from top down. So this security awareness and security champions, if my executive director of my org is a security champion, is on board for everything, then that's going to be a huge help.
Yeah, excellent. Something I would add is actually, I don't think I've seen it in the chat, is the ability to listen, right? It's not just the energy or the curiosity. Curiosity, I guess, kind of is important there or related, because to be curious, you're hopefully listening and learning, but it's not so much telling people what they should be doing, but observing, asking, why do they need it that way? Why do they go around, writing their passwords down or whatever? Because that will be valuable intelligence for the security team. So I think having people who can listen as part of their skill set as well would really help in terms of the security champions. Some really good books that John mentioned that are useful in terms of generating curiosity and knowledge about cybersecurity. The original hacker book, The Cuckoo's Egg, back in 1989. Really fun story about dot matrix printers and very, very old technology, but really interesting. Around the beginning of the internet days. The Art of Deception from Kevin Mitnick is a fun caught, and that's mostly what he used his skills for when he was doing all his social engineering. But yeah, lots of good discussion and suggestions here. Yeah, RIP Kevin. Okay, so I'm just going to pull up one more poll question that we can. Where is it? Interestingly, I'm not sharing it already, am I? Somehow it's not there. Okay, I'm not going to show it on the screen, but I will call up the poll. I'm going to launch it right now. It is, how could security champions provide the most value to your security awareness program? Is it from creating content, or helping you create content, encouraging people to complete training, coordinating small events like lunch and learns, just getting more visibility for the program, networking with senior managers to build support at the executive level, or brainstorming on activities for the organization? I'll let everybody go into that. Oh, I see now. I wasn't seeing my thing, but this is the screen that people are, or the poll that people are responding to. This is as I record these things, it's good for the audience who may watch this on video to see what the questions were that were popping up, and we will review those in a moment. So the third question for the panel is, what are some of the challenges to running a security champions program? And I think it was brought up a little bit earlier, you might get people who are a little bit too energetic or outspoken that might be disruptive. I'll start maybe with Eric and see if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, just feeding into what you just said is the what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, it's like over evangelizing, right?
Yeah.
Being out there too much or being in the way of productivity, right? You still want your folks to be able to do their job, and to be secure in how they're doing it, but you don't want to get in the way of what their job is, right? Because the other champions may not be security folks, right? Or the people that you're talking to may not be security. And then you have, while you're incorporating leadership, you may have a struggle with some of the changing cultures with some people. So you may have pushback, right? But you get the top down, like we've all mentioned earlier, you got to get the top down approach in the organization as well.
Yeah, for sure. John?
Sorry, I had to get myself off mute there.
Yeah.
For this one, I think, really it comes back to part of your survey question, when we think about, these security champions and what they are, and that kind of ties through a lot of the questions you've had, like, do you have a formal security champions program or not? I think overall for me, sort of security champions, and I'm not necessarily thinking of this through an organized manner, is one of the strongest opportunities for them is to be agents of change within the organization. And where you need to try to bring those champions is into a place where they are trustworthy. And by that, I mean, you want to make sure that they're credible, so that they've been appropriately trained on different things. They're reliable. If you're trying to do something, they're going to show up, or they're going to kind of convey sort of a consistent message if you're trying to sort of target, because you got to prioritize, what word are we trying to get out there? And you want that reliability that they're going to do that. And you want to be able to build sort of a level of intimacy with those individuals as well. And then I would say the last component to really having a high quality security champion is they're not doing this for themselves. This is not an ego thing, or I'm going to get a promotion type thing. They're really genuinely there to try to make the organization a better place. And I will say, hands down, there are tons of people in your organization like that. So coming back to how do you recruit? For me, a lot of this is trying to get the word out there, grow your own sort of security type teams, and make it known we're looking for people that want to help change, want to help make things better, and really thinking of that from the human angle rather than the tech angle. Because, and even with the tech angle, it's like, maybe we should be using these tools a little differently than we are, because oftentimes, we're only using 10% of a tool. And if we leverage more of that, we'd really get more value for the organization.
Excellent. Sid, did you have a follow-up on that?
Yeah, I've had issues with any sort of champions program, because at my org, we do not usually formalize those things. So as John already said, just getting people who are enthusiastic at the beginning to show up and actually, do what you ask later on is a challenge then. It would probably help us if we did have a formal program, but our org is so small that, as was mentioned before, people, if they feel like it's part of their job, it's added on to their job, it's like, then it becomes, how many hours do I need to do this? And those kinds of challenges. So that's why, as I mentioned previously, I like having line managers be those security champions first, at least be positive about the security program, and whatever security aspects we're talking about. Like, a couple of years ago, we added a MFA. We're moving towards zero trust. That's going to become challenging. We have a password manager, and the master password on that has to constantly be entered. So these are big changes, and they can be seen as hurdles, but if they're if organically, as I've said before, security champions are there who can constantly remind people why we're doing these things. It becomes easier to adopt them. So yeah, we don't, well, I'm talking generally, not about specific security champions, but yeah, it's difficult to actually get people to show up and do
Yeah, it almost does suggest that, you know, you could benefit from having some formality in the program just to set expectations and draw the line when people are crossing it, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be bureaucratic, but it can be helpful to make somewhat of a formalized program. A couple of other notes from Monica about, you know, the challenge of leveling down the mindset to the mindset of the people who are not IT people, and trying to get the message across without it being too technical, and people not knowing where to start to be secure. And that's another part of the formality. I think you might want to start looking at, you know, how would you best leverage the help of these people in a way that helps your organization overall, or specific functional teams, for example.
That's why I like the lunch and learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right? You can do one technical and one non-technical, and actually feed into the
sure.
participants that come to the lunch and learns.
Yeah. And John mentioned in a chat message, you know, the reward is important too. Getting people, you know, excited and motivated to participate. You know, sometimes it doesn't have to be that expensive. It can be just recognition or acknowledgement in a newsletter or at an event to thank people, and that makes them feel good. Cool. So as promised, I'm going to go to a review of our polls, and I just got to find my Chrome window. Here we are. So I found a way to do this with the Zoom polls. I can open up the poll results in a browser tab. So I'm just going to zip through these so that everybody, when they're watching the recording, can see them. So question 1 was, does your organization have any sort of security champion program? So we saw 21% said they have a formal program, 29% said their program was ad hoc, and 36% said they didn't have a program, and 14 said they didn't know. So that's really interesting. I mean, I think it's actually encouraging that we've got some amount of formality starting within the people who are joining our sessions. But in a lot of cases, as Sid said, it's not always possible, or it hasn't been done before. So you might have to start thinking about it. Question 2 was, what are the best ways to identify security champions or ambassadors? The responses were 47% said send out recruiting messages. This was a multiple option. You could pick as many as you wanted. 20% said look for people who finished training immediately when asked, shows some level of cooperation at least. And looking for people who scored highly on tests or assessments, 33%. Asking team managers for suggestions of who they would likely want to participate is the highest at 80%. So looks like a great way to start your program, just by reaching out to managers. And look for people with security backgrounds in each team. Makes it a lot easier to speak, at the right level and explain to them what you're looking for. So interesting results there. And then question 3, how could security champions provide the most value to your security awareness program? Creating content was 7%, encouraging people to complete training, 7%, coordinating small events like lunch and learns, as was mentioned, 40%. So that was the highest frequency. Networking with senior managers to build support, 20%. Brainstorming on activities for the organization, 20%, and other 7%. And I don't know if anybody put anything in the chat about what their other suggestion was on question 3, but any comments from the panel on any of those response results? All right. If that's the case, I'm going to move on just to start to wrap things up a little bit here. So what I like to do is just reflect. If anybody can in the chat, just write in, what did you see in or hear today in the session that you think would be really good insights for executives? You know, how did we help decision makers in this session today? What are some of the insights for implementers, the people who are running a security awareness training program? What could they benefit from that we've learned today? And for individuals, how did we help individuals? Anything that came out of this that might be useful? So if you can enter something in the chat for any one of those questions, it would be helpful, and we'll start collating this kind of information into our blogs and reports. In addition, we try to provide some tools and useful things. We've created a short guide to building a security champions program, helping you define what the program can look like and identifying and engaging those champions. So this QR code will get you to a place where you can download the Champions Guide. And in addition to this one, I actually almost 2 years ago now, it was Security Awareness Month 2 years ago, I did a webinar just on my own called Becoming a Security Champion. And it's available on our YouTube channel. You can watch it without entering an email or anything like that. But it actually goes through the process. I've been asked a lot about, how do you build a career in security? And I've identified a sequence of activities that I kind of went through that allowed me to get to this point. And they're not technical. It's more about understanding risk and how risk can be explained to people through stories. And so it's about a 50-minute video, but I refer a lot of people who ask how they can get into security and build their career as so this could be something that they might want to just review. It's not technical, like I said, but it would help them build credibility and visibility within the organization so that they are seen as a leader, if that's in fact what they want to do. Stephen has his hand raised.
I just want to really echo that point. I think having a security champions program is great for, you might have people in IT, you might have people in a software quality group, and they kind of think, I want to get into security, but I don't know how to do that. And there might not be, there might be openings from time to time in a security group, but maybe they haven't got the credentials or they, whatever. It's really hard for some people to make that jump. And this is a great opportunity to kind of say, step up, right? Let's see if you think this is good. Let's find a way that you can help out, you can learn. I used to manage a large group of people. I worked at Nortel, formerly Northern Telecom, and I used to have people that say, how do I get to be a manager? And I used to say, if you want to be a manager, act like a manager. Right? Start making decisions that look out more than 2 weeks. Start to do some planning. Start to engage people. Tell people and same with security. If you want to be a security professional, start acting like one. And here's a great opportunity to do that. You can do that maybe an hour a week. Talk to your manager about why you want to get involved with the champion program. And if you can get their support, their advocacy, they can now start to track you as a nascent security professional, saying, yeah, they really seem to be passionate about this and sharing their expertise. So I think that's a really good, it's an important part of a security champion program.
Cool. Now, the last order of business is to let people know about our next session in 2 weeks, Wednesday, October 18th, 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I think it's still daylight time on the 18th. We don't change yet. But number 30 is going to be a really interesting and fun one. The psychology of security awareness and phishing simulations. And we've got a number of people who specialize in cyber security psychology who are going to be joining us. So that'll be really interesting. A lot of discussion around how the psychology of phishing simulations, impacts security culture. And I think it'll be a really good discussion. So really hope we can build up a good audience for that one, and look forward to seeing everybody there. In the meantime, really want to thank everyone who joined us in the audience, and especially the panelists, Eric, John, and Sid, and Stephen, of course. Don't want to forget Stephen.
Oh, no.
We look forward to having Ryan back next week. He's away on vacation. He'll be back with his usual insights as well. So look forward to seeing him. So I will say goodbye, everybody, and thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
So long.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, folks.